Yeah, I'd just like to say welcome to everyone. And I guess I'll start by saying that I'm very honored to be named the ninth coach in San Jose Sharks history. I want to thank Hasso Plattner and Doug Wilson for the loyalty they've shown in me and, moving forward through this process over the last, let's call it few weeks anyways, maybe months. You know, Doug and I have had a long conversation about how we want our team to play, what kind of team are we, who are we, and then of course going out and trying to build a staff out that's going to reflect that. And Doug asked me a long time ago, what would be the criteria, or what are you looking for in a staff, and what boxes are you looking to check? And a couple of things that that I thought were important moving forward. Obviously, we want to get for me, I wanted to get former players that played the position, both Rocky as a defenseman and John as a forward, guys that have NHL experience. So John in Florida, John in Columbus organization, American League, Rocky in the Edmonton Oilers. Guys who really important for me had a winning pedigree. And, Rocky's won an OHL championship and a Memorial Cup as a junior coach in Windsor. He's had some success, a lot of success in Chicago, not only developing players, but getting his team to the finals and a deep run in the playoffs. John, as a player, 3 Stanley Cups and has won a Selke Award, and has built a career around being a detailed hockey player. And that's no different with the way he approaches his coaching. Guys that have experience working with and developing the young players in the American League and knowing how important that is for the success of the NHL clubs. And probably most importantly, good people that love the game, that have strong work ethic, and that exemplify exactly what we're trying to do here in San Jose. Both guys had interest and people in other organizations trying to lure them and bring them into their staffs. When I sat down and talked to these guys about our team, and I got their thoughts, and both were very, very well prepared in their interviews and the information that we shared back and forth. It was important for me that they believed that we have a team here that has a lot left in the tank and has a lot to prove, and really believe in our personnel moving forward. And both did. They gave me 100% commitment where they wanted to be. Both them and their families, and that was important to me. So I think from a player's point of view, you see a guy like Rocky Thompson and John Madden come into the room. I think they have instant credibility. Both played, both have coached, both have experience, and they're just good people. And that's they're going to be very infectious moving forward, what we're trying to do here. So I'm very proud and honored to bring these guys on board. It was important for me and Doug helping me in this process, getting people that were my own people that Doug was on board with, and being able to create a staff that I think is going to create a great environment for our players to succeed in.
Thanks, Boogie. We can go ahead and start with the questions. We'll go to the first one to Curtis Pashelka.
Hey, Bob. Hey, congratulations.
Thanks, Curtis.
I posed this question to Doug about the style of play, and you just talked about it a little bit too. But I mean, do you look at the Dallas Stars and the Islanders and what they've done this postseason as maybe a blueprint for you guys have to do?
Yeah, I heard your question at Doug, and I agree with what Doug said. And I think maybe taking it a step further, for me, watching the playoffs, you look at a team like Dallas and you look at their style of play, but the thing that's most important for me is the style of play that matches your personnel. And Dallas is real heavy in the blue paint, in the offensive zone, real heavy around the blue paint in the D zone, and they're built for that. And I think as a coach, you look at your personnel and you say, okay, what kind of team are we? That's what I was alluding to before. And then you create the style of play that you think is going to be most successful for that personnel. And we've put a lot of hard work into it over the last little while. Not only looking at, what the playoffs and what the teams are doing, but more importantly, what we have. And I will say there will be changes in our system play, both in the offensive zone. Well, I should say all 3 zones. There are going to be some changes, and special teams and moving forward. Yeah, I think you have to evolve. And I think that we have to find, and I believe we have found, the style of play that we want to play. So the answer to your question is yes for both teams. there's a lot of good things that you see in their game that is leading to their success.
And just a reminder, I'm not sure if everybody can see depending on the viewer on your screen, but Rocky and John are on as well. If you do have any questions for them, just please address those two individuals. We'll go next question to Kevin Kurz.
Hey, Bob, congratulations. Good to see you. Hope you and your family are doing well through all this stuff. I was talking to Craig Berube over the weekend, and, obviously you guys were on the same Calgary team. And I can't imagine what it was like with a team with both you and Chief on it, maybe one of the tougher teams in the league. But what do you remember from those two teams and playing with him? And then I guess the broader question is there anything about the way guys like you approach the game that helps you in your coaching career?
Well, I think, when Chief and I played together in Calgary, we became instant buddies. I think that, I think something that may be similar, that is similar between the two of us, we were guys that, weren't afraid to step up. We weren't afraid to, hold people accountable. And no matter what role we played as players, we really, truly believed that, being ready to play and being detailed and focused and playing hard and playing the right way and all those things. Chief was very vocal about that. And, we both stuck up for our teammates and we both played a physical role. But one of the things that, on this same thing with Rocky is, as a player that plays that role, what you need to do is you need to be very attentive and detailed to prolong your career and to have success, because you might not be one of the most talented players on the ice. But that meant that you had to make sure that when you got out there that your detail was better than most. And, I think that's what we both did. Craig and I, we both believed in the same way to approach a game. And I think that helps us in our coaching careers. And, the best thing that ever happened to me in Colorado, my end of my career, I was an in and out scratch kind of guy. I was getting a little older. They put me and played me as a right winger for half the season. And at the time I didn't like it, but looking back on it, it's really probably one of the best things that ever happened to me to be able to relate to that position.
All right. Again, just as a reminder, the question button is under participants at the bottom. We've got one more in the queue right now. We'll go to Sheng Peng.
Congratulations, Bob.
Thanks,
you talked about Rocky, and when people talk about Rocky, one of the chief things they talk about is offensive creativity. So can you talk about that? And also, too, I have a question about John. Doug said that you mentioned John Madden to Doug. And coincidentally, he left Florida right when you took over. So did you want to bring John to your Florida staff?
Yeah, I didn't know John before this process. Obviously, played against him and respected what he, what kind of career he had. John, when we sat down, immediately he had a package ready for me, and he wanted to know, do I want to see this package? I've done some research. I have some analytics. We started talking about his experiences both as an assistant coach in Florida, as a head coach in Columbus and development. And, and I asked him a question, what was one of his favorite coaches and why? And I won't get into the, all the detail of our interview, but the things that came out of that for me were, one is he's very prepared, a strong work ethic, believes in the same things I believe in to win. And he brings that winning pedigree he has. That's important for me. So we had a great conversation. I felt like I knew him forever after we got off the out of the interview. I immediately called Doug and I said, I think we found our guy. It was important for me to have someone who's played the position and is detailed, and he's going to help with our forwards. And as for Rocky, I think when you talk about the way he sees the game, the first time I met Rocky, I tell this story all the time. The first time I met Rocky, I was at an NHL coaches conference, and there was 400 or 500 guys listening. Rocky was the first speaker up on the panel, and at the time I was looking for a head coach in Windsor. And I was just 10 minutes in, I was, my jaw sort of dropped. I'm looking at Rocky Thompson doing a presentation on how to create offense in today's game. And, he backed it up with analytics. The way he spoke and presented, he commanded the room. Immediately approached him after. And I know he was in the middle of finding out what he wanted to do next. And, one thing leads to another, and he ends up coaching in Windsor, and he did an amazing job and won the Memorial Cup. But the one thing with Rocky, and we've talked a lot over the last couple of years. I've watched him, what he's done in Chicago, his power plays. When we talked about this job, what he thought about our power play, and he brought me through all his ideas and what he'd bring in new and what he would change. And just again, a guy that not only do I have a relationship with a prior relationship with, but a guy that I really respect. And I will tell you this, I mean, just sitting here today before this interview, and I know the press release went out, I've got NHL coaches texting me as we speak saying, great hires, Rocky and John are going to be great for you, and congratulations, those things. So their name carry weight. The people in the business know what they've done as players, know what they've done as coaches, and they're just very well respected, the both of them.
We'll go next to Curtis Pashelka.
Hey, Bob, is cohesion in the locker room something that this team needs to work on going into next season?
I think I've always thought that cohesion or culture or wherever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, I think starts at the top. And I've always respected Doug and what he stands for and his values. And again, talking about a new staff is bringing in people and surrounding yourself with people that are going to help you create that environment for the players to succeed. And we got a lot of great people that care a lot for each other in that dressing room. And I think, without touching back on last year and all the things that we went through, and you all know that on the call, I think that we've all learned a valuable lesson, coaches and players. And I've had a lot of conversation with players over the summer that they have a bad taste in their mouth, and they realize that what slipped through the cracks last year, and what we need to work on, and what we need to improve, not from a hockey standpoint, from a dressing room standpoint. And we got a great leader in Cooch, who got through that first year of being a captain and all the turmoil and the injuries and everything else. And I think he's going to be that much better for it. He's got a great support staff, and we got players that are hungry. They want to come back and prove that last year was one of those years that just it's not the San Jose Sharks. And I feel real comfortable with what we have moving forward, and I know that. You learn from your mistakes as a group, and Doug said it. It's the character you see in people when they go through adversity, and I'm excited about our dressing room.
Kevin Kurz.
Bob, obviously this is your second experience as a full-time head coach. Are you going to change anything? How is your approach to this job maybe different from when you took over Florida? I mean, how have you improved maybe as a coach? Coming into this gig?
Yeah, I think again, I think it's you're constantly learning and doing my homework over the summer and watching a lot of hockey and talking to different coaches. And Doug mentioned some of those names. I talked to all three of those guys this summer. Sullivan and Cassidy and Berube and shared. They asked them to share their experiences of what was different the second time around, and and how they deal with certain situations that come up. And so in answer to your question, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of things that are different. I think not only in the systems pack that we are working on, and I think you're going to see a different kind of identity when we hit the ice, a better compete. I think now that I have my own staff in place, I'm not going to be, I know everything runs from me, but there's going to be no sense for me or no need for me to be over anybody's shoulder micromanaging. We're going to be all as one. Be very inclusive with our staff, and Doug mentioned the names earlier, not just these two guys, but Nabby and Reach and Danny Darrow and all those guys that are coming back. I think we're going to be real connected. I think the players are going to see that. I think it's going to be very infectious in the room, and I know the players are already excited about the announcement today.
Go next to Sheng.
This question actually is for Rocky. Congratulations, Rocky. And the defensemen, along with the rest of the team, struggled last year, of course. What do you hope to bring in particular to this group of, veteran defensemen?
Well, I think we got a great group of defensemen, without a doubt. And I'm really excited about coming out of the box a little bit and playing to their strengths. I'm big time on fundamentals and how a defenseman plays with their stick and their body position. I think those are things that could definitely be improved. But I think we just got a great group, and we can kind of take the reins off them, so to speak, while still having structure and still being responsible and playing to our strengths. So I think you're going to see a combination of both with our players and an improvement in that aspect that's going to help, and it's going to help strengthen the forwards as well.
All right, we'll go back to Curtis Bishelka.
Question for Bob. Doug was asked this as well, but how important would it be for you and for your staff to get a mini camp in before training camp starts, whenever that gets underway?
Yeah, I mean, in a perfect world, I mean, obviously, yes. I think that you'd like to see your young players come back, in some kind of development camp if possible. But yeah, having maybe a bit of a head start with our group. It's been a long time since we've been together, and a long time since they've been on the ice together. And who knows what that's going to look like when we start. But valuable. I know I talked to a lot of players, and they're grabbing ice back home and they're training back home. But to get through a training camp, I mean, when you don't play for 9 or 10 months, and if someone said you got 2 weeks to prepare for your first game, obviously that's not the ideal situation. If that's the case, we'll deal with it, and and we'll get through it. But it's very valuable, and I think that as I said before, we have a lot of new things that we want to bring to the table, and a new plan, a new approach, and if the more time, the better for not only new staff but the players seeing some new ideas.
Next question to Sean Madison.
Hey everybody, great to be talking about hockey. Bob, huge congrats, and Rocky and John, welcome to the Bay Area. We did get to hear from Rocky, but John, what excites you personally about this opportunity, and in your experience, with your rich experience in NHL, how do you kind of reignite a team with so much skill that underperformed last year?
Well, I think it starts in the locker room. We always talk about that. You win there first. Bob's taught me a little bit about the team, the locker room, what goes on there. But reigniting is just having guys buy in. You watch Dallas, Islanders, they all play a little bit different of a system, but they've had success because you have a buy-in from the players.
Go back to Shane.
Yeah, this also is for John. Congratulations. John, can you say who was your favorite coach that you cited when you talked to Bob? And also, can you explain from your vantage point the Sharks having the best penalty kill in the league, but being not so good 5-on-5 defensively?
Yeah, it's something that we talked about. Actually, I'll answer your first question real quick. Pat Burns was my favorite coach. He just, I don't know what it was about him, but, he was just a great guy, great coach, and a great person to play or be around. But I just felt that he got the best out of every player, and he treated every player fairly. But the one thing that he had was, respect. It was just, it was fun playing for him. But to go back to your other question, the penalty kill versus the 5-on-5, obviously that's a little bit of a mystery there. But the penalty kill, when I watch and go through the analytics, it's amazing how much structure there is in front of them, how well they trigger. They have so many good aspects and details to their game. Haven't had a lot of time to go through the analytics on the 5-on-5 or a lot of video, but we'll get to that. So I really can't answer all those questions right now at the 5-on-5.
All right, next question for Curtis Bishelka.
Question for Rocky. Rocky, as you look at the Sharks power play last year, what stood out to you? What issues did you see? And is there a way to get both Brent and Eric working together in more maybe cohesion on that first unit? They seemed to have some issues last year. I mean, how do you get all the pieces to sort of fit together?
Well, I think chemistry is important, but without a doubt, you want to be on the same page with your structure. And Boogie and I, we went through analytics and things that I've done in the past in the American League level and junior, I still believe would work at the NHL level. And Boogie agreed, and we kind of showed him a package of those things and how we could take advantage of the strengths of our players. I think we got great personnel on the power play for both units, really. And things that we need to do is have more of an attack mentality against the opposition. Not always looking for the pretty play. And I think the NHL, these playoffs really speak to that as a great example of the types of goals that are being scored. And it's simple, but at the end of the day, there are some creative ideas that we're going to have for those players. I think they're going to love it. But at the end of the day, when you're attacking, it's really, really hard and it puts a ton of pressure on the penalty kill. We had the best penalty kill in the league last year. And so in communicating these things with Bob, I think he saw some of those things and how those things could create issues for a penalty kill and at the same time strengthening your power play. So again, we got a great group of players and a lot of talent and things that we can do. And again, like I said, the chemistry will be so important and our guys are going to love it. When you love going out there and doing these things and you're having fun with it and you're attacking, you're going to have success. We want to be the best power play in the league and penalty kill as well. And I think that translates into the stats of where this team wants to be is at the top.
Looks like we've got one more question from Sheng.
This question is for Bob. Just wondering, will there be a eye in the sky assistant coach? Is that going to be Dan Darrow, or how's that going to work? A third assistant coach in that vein?
Yeah, we're still going through that process. Obviously, Danny's going to remain in his in the same position as last year. Danny, I believe, is one of the best in the league, if not the best, at what he does, and he's very knowledgeable and he's very prepared and detailed and all those things. So, Charlie Townsend's coming on board. He's been a part of the organization before. We're going to define his role a little more. He will be on the headset talking with Danny during the game and any situations that arise, whether it be a coach's challenge. I think that you need a live pair of eyes up there. We're also going to have Naby's going to be there, but I'd really like Naby to be up there concentrating on the goaltending. Mike Ricci being a development coach. We got a lot of great people that will be up in the sky watching the game, trading ideas, but directly it will be Charlie Townsend talking to Danny Darrow and watching the game live. So I hope that answers your question, but I think it's a little bit of a combination of the three guys up there and watching the game together live and sharing opinions.
Just to confirm, so it's there won't be a new hire. It'll be kind of a mix of the group of guys that were announced today.
That's correct.
Curtis Bishoka?
Hey, Bob, you mentioned Naby. How critical is it for him to continue his work with Martin Jones? Obviously, that started last year and seemed to really pay dividends toward the end of the season.
Yeah, I thought Naby did an amazing job, and there's a lot of change. There's changes in Jonesy's game that Naby was responsible for. I know that even in the summer here, and how involved Naby's been with Jonesy, and when it comes to training and on ice and technique and things like that, I think Naby's also had some major pull in some things we want to do 5-on-5 off of breakouts, getting the goalie involved, or goalie exchanges, things like that. So, Naby's not only was a great player, but he has a great hockey mind, and he's excited. I think getting Jonesy back to where he needs to be, and we saw some great glimpses of that at the end of the year. So I'm very happy Naby's coming back in a full-time role with us this year.